Hey guys, stick around because today we'll be making not one, not two, but 3 different varieties of solar lights that you can use on your porch, deck, patio, or even in your garden. These are fun and easy to make, so let's get started. For the first project, what you're going to need is one of these incense burners that you can pick up at the Dollar Tree, one of the small glass bowls, and one of the solar garden lights. So this is pretty easy. It's going to be a tabletop patio light, and all you need to do is pop off the post off of the light and then twist off the outer ring of the solar light. And the outer ring we are going to glue in to the bottom of the bowl, and to do this I'm going to be using some E6000, and I'm going to be using just a little bit of it. I don't want it to look messy since the bottom of the glass globe is going to be the top when we're done. So I'm going to very carefully put just a small amount of the E6000 on the outer ring here. The reason I'm not using hot glue is because in the heat, the hot glue will of course melt and your solar light will come apart. Now to put the E6000 on, I'm just going to use this dowel in order to put a small line around this, and it's not ending up getting gloppy all over the outside of my ring, because this has a very large opening in it, so I don't want to just randomly squeeze out large beads all the way around. And to do this, I'm just going to bring it around, and you do have some time to work with this because E6000 does not dry nearly as quickly as hot glue, say. So we do have a little bit of working time here, and using E6000 on toothpicks when I'm making jewelry is the way I normally do it. I don't ever just squeeze it out of the tube. Now that I have the cap for the solar light glued onto the inside here, as you can see a little bit of the glue, but it's on there pretty neatly. It doesn't look too bad. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set the solar light in there, and then it is going to set right on top of this. Now, normally I don't use hot glue in these projects because the glue can get warm and melt off a little bit, but I'm not really sure how else I want to do this to hold it on that's not permanent, so that when I need to replace the light I can pull this off. So now that the outer rim is glued securely onto the inside of the globe, it is ready for the interior piece of the light to be placed in. Now, because I've been working on making all these lights so that you could pull out the center and replace them as needed with new Dollar Tree lights, I was trying to figure out a good way to keep this from wobbling and falling off of the base here, because they are exactly the same diameter at the bottom, and I can't really get this to set on the inside rim as I wanted to. Now, I thought about hot gluing it with a few dabs of hot glue on the inside to hold it, but knowing that this will heat up in the summer, get hot in there, the hot glue will most likely melt and not hold it real securely. I wanted to come up with a better way. And the other thing is, as these are glued, yes, it's a cute lamp, but it could use something in there. And I thought about it and decided on one of these Dollar Tree succulents. I pulled it out of the little pot it came in, and I am just going to cut this bottom part off, and I'm just going to glue the succulent in here, and then the leaves from the succulent will actually hold the globe in place, and it won't reach all the way up to the light. So what we will have is basically a little terrarium with a light, and I think that'll turn out really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that in there, and then we'll go ahead and put the top on. Alright, now that I've got the succulent glued in here, it looks like it will set up pretty much the way I was hoping, with the leaves poking around the outside a little bit so that it will hold the globe in place. Now, what I'm going to do again is just use a little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to take it around the leaves a little bit, because what I want this to do is just make sure that we have a decent hold and this glass globe doesn't fall off and break on the patio. There we go. All right, and we will give that just a minute to set up. And it should be good to go. All right, here we go. And as you can see, it's holding pretty securely, and it does light up and show off the plant, and I'll show you that here in a few minutes. Now for this next project, what you're going to need for each of the lanterns you make is a glass jar with a hanger on it. This one I picked up at Dollar Tree. I also have this one here I picked up at Hobby Lobby. They both work. And you're going to need one of these small plant hanger stakes that fit in the ground. And just like that, it's just a very small one. It is, oh, I don't know, maybe 2 feet tall. It doesn't really give a height on it. But these are the two main items you're going to need, as well as one of your solar garden lights, of course. Now for this one, we are going to have to glue these into the jars permanently because you don't want moisture to get in. There's no way for the moisture to get out, of course. So what we're going to do is just simply glue the solar light right over the top of the jar like that. It fits just about perfectly, and for this we are going to be using E6000 again. Again, you don't want the hot glue to melt and ruin your solar light. Alright, so for this one, whereas before I used the tip of the dowel to put on a small fine bead, this one I am going to go ahead, just to be sure it's sealed, and run a larger bead all the way around the inside of the jar here. Alright, and I'm going to clean this up just a little bit. It got a little bit messy on the outside there. Now, you just want to take your solar light. Of course, be sure you've pulled out the battery remover, or battery card, so that it will light up. Just set it so it's right centered right over the top of the jar there. And you just want to put something with a little bit of weight on it. And we'll go ahead and use this since this has to dry, and just let that set up until the E6000 is dry. Then you just stake it wherever you would like to have it staked in your yard or garden. Okay, this last one is also from Dollar Tree, and I'll be using you can use either a garden stake for it, or you can remove this and of course set them around on your patio. And this is one of the candle jars. So when I take this off, you can see that it has the votive holder in it. Now, this will not fit in here with the votive holder in it. And the other thing is, I did not want this to be sticking out the top like the jar had to do. So I'm going to do two things. The first thing I'm going to do is pull this bottom part off so we don't have to worry about the votive holder. And to do that, I am just going to work it very carefully so I don't ruin the top, because this is a thinner metal. And I'm just going to bend these and work these off. Alright, there we go. That was not hard at all. And then, as you can see, there's just a little bit of a dent on either side of the top, but I'm really not worried about that. Once we have the votive holder off of the bottom of the jar ring, what we want to do is take apart our solar light. So we just again pull off the stem, we pull off the metal part, and the last step for what we need to do is we need to take off this clear plastic part, and it just twists off, and what you're left with is your little light. And of course you want to remove that. Now what we want to do again is glue this ring into the top of our jar ring, and this is so again it's easy to replace the lights when we need to. So as you can see, that fits almost perfectly in there. So we're just going to use again a bead of the E6000 all the way around. And for this, because it fits almost perfectly inside, I'm just going to bring it around on the outside of this, because we don't want too much on the inside, just because we don't want to see it if we don't have to. All right. Now we just very carefully place this on the inside of the jar lid, as such, and then we just set this aside to dry. Now that I actually have the outer cap of the solar light glued onto the jar lid, what I found out is it doesn't actually fit down on the jar all the way to screw on. So at this point you have two options. One is to go ahead and glue the solar light itself directly onto the interior of the jar cap, and granted you will have some glue showing around the top when you finish this, and you will have to try to clean that off a little bit, and you will also not be able to remove and replace the solar light when it does burn out. So that is one option. The other option is to take some metal cutters or tin snips and cut down the ring so that it can still secure and hold this onto it, but it won't hit this interior part of the jar where it actually gets smaller on the inside. I didn't plan on that. I didn't realize it was going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and take some tin snips and cut it down, because I do want to be able to screw it shut all the way. And this is a thin metal, so it shouldn't be too hard to cut it down. And it would be easier, I guarantee it, if you were to do this before you glued it on, but I've already got this pretty well secured with the E6000. Alright, I've got this all cut down. Now right where I started, you can see it's a little bit jaggedy, so when you do replace the light, you want to be careful that you don't hit the jaggedy part. But this does now fit down in and screw on the jar just perfectly. So if you have some tin snips, go ahead and get that cut down so that it does fit right. It only takes a minute, and it's well worth it for the finished look. All right, now you can leave these clear and they will light up and look just beautiful, or you can add some filler. You can add some little bit of beach glass. You can add some of the glass pebbles you can pick up at the Dollar Tree. But in order not to add any real weight to this, if I'm going to be hanging it, I decided to use some cellophane. Just crumple up a little bit of cellophane, stick it in around the outside of the jar, being sure that you do cover the whole area. Okay, it can be hollow in the center. Just be sure that you have it up far enough you're not getting a lot of white light showing through. Right, and just screw that on. And then what you will have is a colored light with almost no added weight to it. And with the shimmer, with the crinkled cellophane inside, you can't tell it's cellophane.
If you like this video, please be sure to hit that like button as well as share it with friends who may also enjoy it. If you like my channel, hit that subscribe button, and when the notification bell pops up, be sure you hit that as well so you never miss a video. And, as always, have a great day and stay crafty.